welcome. My name is Anastasia Hart. I am a certified life coach. On this channel, we focus on fashion, health, and wellness. Basically, what I do is assist individuals in transforming into a better version of themselves, both inside and out, resulting in uncovering the secrets to a happier life. Today's segment is going to fall under the realm of health and wellness because it deals with relationship, and I think it's something good to be discussing the beginning of 2022 because I'm sure a lot of us have experienced challenges in 2021, and we want to ensure that going forward we're more informed so we can make better decisions about our lives. So the purpose of this video is to help you make better decisions as it relates to relationship so you can have the mate that you so desire in 2022 and beyond. In this video, there's no specific format. I'm just going to be talking to you about some of the challenges that personally I have experienced and clients of mine have experienced over the years. So this is actual information that was gathered from participants in the coaching arena. Now, I know there's a lot of information out there about challenges that professional women may experience. And you can find that information on the internet as well. But this information that I have was gathered in 2021, and I believe it's relevant and it's important that we all hear what these women have to say about the challenges they experience. So stay tuned. Before we begin, let's define what a professional woman is. And basically, after looking in the Urban Dictionary and other dictionary, it's basically individual who they say, and this didn't come from me, has a degree, work full time, and has the necessary skills and education. They're usually in their 20s or older. And when I looked up the word professional, basically what it said is that anyone who earns a living performing an activity that requires a certain level of education, skills, and training. So that's considered a professional. Now, to me, if a professional doesn't, a professional person, excuse me, a professional woman does not have to have a degree, because there's a lot of successful and professional individuals out there, both men and women, and they don't have degree, but they're successful. They're still considered professionals. This is just what the dictionary defines as professional, but we all have our views on what we consider professional. Okay. Anyway, moving right along. I made a list, and it's approximately like 15 items on my list. So I'm going to begin with the first one. Now, keep in mind, they are not in any specific order of importance. When I spoke with these individuals, I asked them these questions, and they were able to give me some information and some insight, and I jot these challenges down, and now I'm going to share them with you so you can have some insight. Okay, one of the challenges that the women discussed is when a man asks you, what is it that you're looking for in a relationship? Now, I am very cautious about that. And the reason why I'm cautious, because in the past, when you tell a man, okay, I want an educated man. Now, this is just if you want one and you say, well, I want him to be educated. I want him to have money. I want him to have a good job. I want him to be a Christian, or whatever your criterias are, and you list that criteria, that man will mold himself into whatever you tell them you're looking for in a man. And later on down the road, you find out that that man does not have any of those qualities that you're looking for. So what I recommend my clients to do, or even myself, when a man asks you what you're looking for, well, I know what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a good man. You could say I'm looking for a good man, and a good man could be defined as anything. But what you don't want to do is tell him exactly. You can say I'm looking for a good man, and when I find him, I will know. Okay? Because you will know when you find a good man because you're going to spend time with that individual, share thoughts, share values and beliefs, and then you get to know that individual as a person and not as somebody that they created for you because you said that you were looking for such and such. Now, when I said I experienced that, I actually had an individual that I was dating, and this is in my younger years, and I told him what I was looking for. Come to find out that that individual didn't have any degree. He was just, I later found out he was just a dirt bag. But one of the things that you have to keep in mind is when you encounter an individual and they say, okay, well, I have this and I'm doing this and I work in this job, it's recommended, and I do this, and I also tell my clients to also do a background check. First, you do a Google. Now, I have Google individuals when they give me a name, specifically if I met someone online. Now, in person is different, but if you meet someone online, Google them. And after you Google them and you don't find their name, then you know it, they're scam or catfish or whatever the case may be. So after you Google them, you meet them face to face. You might meet them at the grocery store. You may meet them at the movies. Wherever you met this individual, Google them. After you Google them, do a background check. And the background check costs approximately $25 to $35. And I think it's worth it. It's worth it for your security to know who that you're going out with. So now I have a client that met this young man online, and they went out and he said, oh, well, I'm writing a book. And she was very impressed. She later found out that he was a convict. A convict. Well, of course, she didn't do a background check, but when she asked him so what a book, tell me a little bit about the book that you're writing. And that's when he disclosed to her that he was in prison. So you want to do a background check. I think it's important that you do a background check so you can eliminate all these, things that may prevent you from moving forward. And there's nothing wrong with that. You're protecting yourself. So do a background check. It doesn't cost that much, $25, $35, and it's worth it. It might be more by now. I haven't checked lately, so I'm not sure. The next one on the list is, why am I single? Now, I don't understand why individuals ask, why am I single? Something must be wrong with you. No, I'm just looking for the right person, and the right person has not come along. Okay? You don't have to go into detail why are you single, because they're single too. So tell me, why are you single? And they're going to tell you something that may not be the truth. And you can simply say, I'm single because I choose to be single. Okay? Because if you say, because I haven't met the right person, and so what the right person? So you go back to question one. What are you looking for in a man? And then you're going to have to tell them all these things. And then again, we don't want to tell them that, because then they're going to mold themselves into that person. And then later on down the road, you're going to find out that they're not the person they said they were, but that was based on the information you told them. So I choose to be single. Choose to be single is okay. You choose to be single. But in reality, you haven't found the right person to monopolize your time, and you care about yourself. You love yourself. So you're not going to just settle for a scrub or a dirtbag or someone that's not on your level just because you're desperate to be in a relationship. Sometimes they think you're desperate, but you're not desperate. Single women are not desperate. Most single women choose to be single because they refuse to either take care of a man or be in a relationship just to say, I'm in a relationship or I'm married. I know a lot of married individuals that are very unhappy, And I don't ever want to be in that situation, and I don't recommend anyone be in that situation. The next one on the list is, oh, they perceive you to be difficult. Difficult because they can't get into your pants. Difficult because you wouldn't let them manipulate you. So they will say, oh, you're difficult. No, a professional woman knows what she wants, and she is not going to settle, especially if she's confident in her abilities. She loves herself. She has high self-esteem, and she's not going to let you diminish her. So no, that professional woman is not difficult. She is just mindful of the individual that she spent her time with, and she wanted to count. Because you're going to spend your time with someone, you can't get that time back. So if you're going to spend your time with someone, make sure it's worth your time, because you can never get that time back. The next one on the list is you encounter men, and it goes for women too, that want to use you. And what I mean by men that want to use you, when they find out you're a professional, for example, you may be a doctor, a lawyer, a nurse, an educator, whatever it is. They want to know how much money you make. They want to know where you live, what car you drive in, because they assume that if you are a certain status, that you drive in a Mercedes, a BMW, an Audi, or Bentley, or whatever it may be. I remember in my younger years, I worked at a substance abuse treatment center in Baltimore, Maryland. And one of the doctors there, she was a female, and I always wonder, I'm like, darn, she's a doctor, and she drove a beat up car. Her attire wasn't all that up to date, and she was just a plain homely person. But it's not until later on in life that I really understood why she dressed the way she dressed, because duh, she has student loans to pay. She has car payment, rent, and all those things that comes along with being a professional. People assume because you're a professional, especially if you're a doctor or a lawyer or whatever, that you don't have any bills. That is not the case. I'm here to tell you, when I worked as a therapist in the treatment center in San Diego, a lot of my clients were lawyers. I had clients who had, well, they were lawyers, and for all the different reasons why they were there for therapy. Most of them were court ordered. I had doctors as well, and that's because they did something and they were court ordered to therapy, specifically substance abuse therapy. So it doesn't matter what social status you are, you still have bills, you have problems just like the next person. So when they encounter you and they ask you all these things and they expect you to take care of them. At one point, I had a guy that asked me to buy him a motorcycle. Duh. I said, well, why don't you buy me a car? And then he asked me, so where do you live? What kind of car you drive? And I'm like, excuse me? And that's just a turn off. So just like, there are individuals out there looking for someone to take care of them, and they feel because you're a professional woman and you're not in a relationship, that you're desperate, so you're willing to take care of them. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some women out there that are willing to do that, but the majority, they're just not going to do it. The majority of women that I have encountered or deal with that are professionals, they are not going to do that. So that's another challenge that professional women encounter. Another one is, oh, I talked about this, men that don't care about themselves. And what I mean by they don't care about themselves, their personal hygiene, the way they look, their groom. Again, this is just my assumption, because you're a professional and you have it going on. That's their assumption, that you're desperate because you're at a certain age and you need someone in your life. That's not the case. Case in point, I was back in the day, I remember this individual, Oh, I was dating a police officer. And he would get off duty and he would come to, at the time I stayed in an apartment, he would come to my apartment. And every time he tried to kiss me, I was like, ugh, push him away. I didn't want him to kiss me. And that went on for a month. And I would think by a month, he had some inclination of why I didn't want to kiss him. So he finally asked me, well, how come you always push me away? You don't want me to kiss you. I did not know how to tell him that his breath stink. Okay? It was awful. It was buildup. It was good. So I thought I was telling him in a nice way. And keep in mind, I was a lot younger then. I said, your breath is kicking. He was offended. He told me that was not my place to tell him that his breath was kicking. I said, well, whose place is it? I felt bad for him, but I didn't know how else to approach the situation. His breath stink. And I'm not going to kiss him with a dirty mouth. It's no different from a smoker. It's like you can either lick the ashtray, kiss the ashtray. No, I'm not going to do that. And then there are individuals who they don't like taking baths and have body odors, and then they expect you to lay down with them. Oh my gosh. Now, I don't mind a man with a little bit of pooch because, he has something to hold on to. But when you have a pooch and then you have a beard that look like Grizzly Adams, that is not attractive, okay? So they come into a relationship and they expect you to accept them filthy, dirty, looking like they just came out of the wilderness somewhere. No, professional women, we are not desperate. So, for you men out there who want to approach a professional woman, make sure you're well groomed because there's nothing worse than a filthy man or woman, approaching you thinking that they're going to be able to talk to you. It's just not going to happen. So that's another challenge that we encounter. Well, I'm not saying all professional women encounter that, but some do. And these are some of the challenges that were given to me by some of the professional women that I have coached, dealt with, friends, as well as myself. The next one on the list is, did I discuss broke and expect you to take care of them? Well, I'm going to give you an example. I know of a client that met this young man, and she was a professional. Well, she is a professional. She met this young man, and soon after they met at a Subway store, a Subway sandwich shop, Subway, and in like a month or two, they moved in together. The minute, or soon after, I should say, that he moved in, he quit his job. Oh my God. So she told me every day she would come home from work and he would be laying on the bed with all the lights on and talking on the phone. And so she asked him, well, are you looking for a job? And he said, yeah, I'm looking for a job. Come to find out, he was stealing the newspaper from the neighbor because the neighbor approached her and said, listen, my newspapers are missing. They are delivered daily and I'm no longer getting them. Do you have any idea? And she said, well, I found newspaper in her apartment. And she soon found out he was the one that was taking her newspaper. So after a while, I think it was about 2 weeks, she said, you have to leave. You can't live here. And he packed up his stuff and he moved out. He moved in, he quit working. And a lot of men do that, especially the ones that you encounter or you may find on the internet. They all of a sudden, when their relationship is going good and you're in a relationship with them, they will like, oh, well, this is not working out. This is stressful. I can't stand these people that I work with. Welcome to the club. And they quit and then they expect you to take care of them. Not. The next one on the list is not being forthcoming. Again, they're not telling you the truth about themselves, about they don't basically have to tell you about their past relationship, because what's done in the past is in the past. It's what's happening in the here and now is what counts. But when they lie to you about credentials or job or relationships, such as you may not know that they're married, they will tell you, oh, I'm divorced. If they tell you they're divorced, you need to ask to see the divorce papers, because men, just like women do, I'm not just putting this on the men, they will lie. So make sure you see that divorce paper. And if they have kids, make sure they're paying child support, because if they're not taking care of their kids, you don't expect them to take care of you, do you? Do you expect them to take care of you if they're not taking care of their kids? So if they're not taking care of their kids, that's a telltale sign that they're not taking care of you, and that's not someone that you want in your life. And maybe it's time to skedaddle. The next one on the list is one of my clients said in her area, she lived in the National Capital Region, and that area is saturated with a lot of professionals, and there's more women in that area than there is men. And perhaps not all of the men are heterosexual, so she has a difficult time. Now, she called herself a serial dater. I didn't call her a serial dater. She referred to herself as a serial dater, and she said it was difficult for her to find someone that she's compatible with, because there are a lot of women out there and they're looking for the same thing. And it's just a challenge that she has experienced as a professional woman. Now, she talked about relationship that she have had, and why men would ghost her, specifically in that region. And it could be from a lot of things, commitment. Some men, they are afraid of commitment. And I do understand that in some instances. And from what I was told, it's hmm, it's a lot of competition. It's, okay, I know we talked about the area of saturation, and depending on where you live. And one of the things um, that I wanted to mention um, in here as well is, when you meet an individual that you want to spend time with, and if it's a person that you think that meet all your criteria, may, if you have a list of criteria, everything on that list may not that person may not fit, or that person may not have all those criteria on your list. And it's okay to, say like 8 out of 10 or whatever it is that you're willing to part with. However, one of the things that you have to consider is, if you decide that you wanted to move forward with a full-blown relationship, and I've done this in the past, is ask that individual to take an HIV test. I remember I asked this guy that, well, before we could move forward, you have to take an HIV test. He said, what? I said, yeah, take an A. He didn't want to take an HIV test. So guess what? See ya. It's nothing wrong asking them to take an HIV test. And be careful with that as well, because people will type up fraudulent results and bring it to you. So if you can do the home test and mail it off, and you're there with him or her, whatever the case may be, make sure you do an HIV test. There's nothing wrong with that. And if the person don't want to do an HIV test, again, they're not being forthcoming about something, they're not going to tell you everything. So you need to move on and let them find somebody else. The next challenge on the list, let's see, did I do all? Oh, the next challenge on the list, we all have options. You have options. You don't have to settle, okay? You don't have to settle. Sometimes we think we don't have options. Oh, we're getting old. We're running out of time. We want to have kids. There's other ways to have kids. You can adopt. There's a lot of kids out there that needs home. You can do surrogacy. You can do a lot of, there's options out there. If you have nieces and nephews, you can adopt them if you want. There's options out there. So don't think that you don't have any options because you're getting too old and you can't have any kids or whatever the case may be. Options are available. You just have to explore them, know that you have them, and move forward. Next on the list is, oh, they always come back around. Have you ever had a guy that you broke up with or a female that you broke up with and they always come back around? Now, when I asked this to one of my clients, well, this is the one that says she's a serial dater, and I know this to be pretty accurate. Yeah, she was in a long-term relationship where she was engaged, and that person cheated on her and had several other women. And then after a while, he decided that he wanted to come back in her life. And she said, why you, he told her the grass wasn't greener on the other side. Duh. We already know the grass is not green on the other side. And then they try to come back. Listen, they are an ex for a reason. Leave them as such. Why would you want to backtrack? You're trying to move forward. Remember, you're trying to transform into a better version of yourself so you can uncover the secrets to a happier life. You know what it was like with that individual. You don't want to go backwards. But those are some of the challenges that we encounter. Some of us go backwards because we don't want to be alone. It's familiar. Let's just hang in there and make it work. It didn't work before. What make you think it's going to work? And if it does work, it's going to only work for a time until he or she get what they want, and then they're going to do act the same behavior again. They're going to go through the same. You're going to go through the same thing, and that's insanity. Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. It's not going to happen. Leave the past in the past. They always want to come back. Let them be. Next on the list is, be open to relationship with another culture, another race. You don't have to stick with your race if you so desire. There are other diversity of people out there that you can encounter, meet, travel the world, meet people, and you will see that there are other things, like they say, variety is the spice of life. I don't know if you guys saw that movie, Something New with Sanaa Lathan. And when she met Brian, he was uh, a gardener or something like that. I can't remember exactly what he does, but landscaper. Yeah, Brian. And they end up getting married. And Brian, a white guy, she black female. So try something new. There's nothing wrong with that. Diversity is the spice of life. If you're not getting what you need or want in a certain culture or a certain population or whatever the case may be, venture out and see what it's like. Test the waters. It's nothing wrong with that. Now, that's if you want to, you don't have to, but that's something to consider. The next on the list is afraid of commitment. Now, there are some professional women that are afraid of commitment, but there are some men as well. So you may meet an individual. For example, if you meet a man in his 50s and 60s and he's never been married, you know the answer to that question. Now, it may not be that he's afraid of commitment, but I would bet I would say that he is afraid of commitment. He or she may be afraid of commitment, but I would think so. Well, if you talk to that individual and find out what happened in their last relationship, they'll tell you. And from there, you will have an idea of the mindset of that individual, because most of the time, from my experience and the experience of other women that I've encountered, coaching or friends that I've talked to or discussed the subject with, commitment is one of the biggest things that they have experienced when it comes to finding a mate that they're compatible with. They may be in the same age group, but they have a difficult time committing. And it's for a lot of reasons that I'm not going to go into here, maybe another video, but commitment is another challenge. The next one on the list, oh, I'm independent and I don't need a man. Now, that's what men say that we say, but that's not the truth. You may be an independent. I think when a woman say, I'm independent and I don't need a man, she is saying, I'm independent. I could take care of myself. I'm not willing to take care of a man and myself. I'm not willing to give up my clothing budget, my shoes budget, whatever you have for him and him alone. You make enough money to support you and for you, not for you and him. So when a woman say, "Oh, I'm an independent and I don't need a man," I've never said that. And the women that I have coached or the friends that I have had that are professional women, I've never heard them say that. What I've heard them say is, yeah, I'm independent. I want a man, but I'm not going to settle for a dirtbag or settle just to say, I was married now, or I have a husband, or yeah, I'm in a relationship. They're not willing to settle. It's not that they don't need a man, they're just not willing to settle. So yeah, I'm independent. I know what I want and you're not it. And then move on. The next on the list is you need somebody to complete you, not compete with you. I talked to this young man and he was saying, yeah, you need someone to complete you, not compete with you. There are men that you'll find that will compete with you and you're not in a competition with them, but they're in competition with you, whether it's, you're so and so, or give an example, or you're a lawyer, you should know this, or you're a doctor, you should know this, or whatever it is, they're trying to challenge you or compete with you, or I got a good one. So I have this client that her husband, or at the time, he had a pimple on his face, and he asked her to put some makeup on it to cover it up. Now, you're a man, okay? You got a pimple. Wash your face, put some moisturizer if you so desire, and go about your business. Why are you competing with your spouse, significant other, putting makeup on or putting, makeup on your face? Seriously? You don't need that in your life. You don't need nobody to compete with you in no fashion, form, or no other instance. You need someone who's going to complete you, not compete with you. And there are men out there who will compete with you, and vice versa. But this is basically about women and the challenges they've experienced. The next one on the list is how to move forward in a relationship. How do you move forward in a relationship? Now, that individual that I told you about earlier, that serial dater, she stated to me that when she met this individual, and after 1 month, he said, well, I want you to be my girlfriend. And she said, sure. And they went into a relationship. And perhaps 6 months or sooner, he ended the relationship and he told her that, he's depressed. He told her that he's depressed. Well, I'm going to tell you something. I've used that as a woman in the past. Oh, I'm depressed. I don't want to be in a relationship. I don't want to be bothered. Men use that too. So don't think that, I'm not saying that he wasn't depressed. I'm saying that it's an excuse that he used because he does not want to be in a relationship with you. So before you go into a relationship, and I know, people talk about a 90-day rule. I can actually tell you it actually worked. So if you meet a man that you truly think that he may be the one, take your time and get to know that individual. Now, and this is just my perception of, based on the information that I have, she probably told him that, yeah, I'm looking for a relationship. I need this, I need that. And he said, okay, well, in order for me to get the cookie, I'm going to tell her that, I want her to be my girlfriend and this is going to be long term or whatever the case was. And she was so flabbergasted that he asked her that because no one ever asked her that before. So she was happy and she was like, oh, wow, finally I find someone. What, girl, I mean, there's tricksters out there. I don't understand why they think that they can trick you out of getting some cookies. Well, they do. So keep that in mind. Now, if a guy says that to you, say, sure, I can be your girlfriend, but just so you know, you can take this two ways. No sex before marriage. Now, there are some men that believe in no sex before marriage and they will go along with that. But if you find a guy that he said he wants you to be his girlfriend and he truly care about you and wants you, then let him wait. If he said, oh, well, I want you to be my girlfriend, okay, that's fine. Let's get to know each other as friends first and then we move forward. Get to know that person. Don't just give them the cookie because they say, oh, I want you to be my girlfriend. Get to know them, because I'm telling you, they are not being forthcoming when they say that. They want to get the cookie and then after that, whatever. Now, if you're in a relationship with them and you let them wait and they truly want to be with you, they're not going to nag you, they're not going to harass you, they're not going to trick you out of the cookie. They're going to wait and they're going to get to know you as an individual, and you will find out things about that person that you may not like or you may dislike. And then from there, you can either stay in a relationship or move forward. But if you give up the cookie right away within a month, and then, he said, well, I don't want to be with you, you're going to feel used, taken advantage of, you're going to feel hurt, you're going to have a lot of emotion. So I would say get to know that person, and you're not going to get to know that person within that month, because I was told this by a good friend of mine. He's a guy. He said, usually when a guy meet you, a woman for the first time, he know whether or not the first day or within that week if you are wifey material. And he's going to take his time. If he truly want to be with you, he's going to take his time, get to know you as a person, and then move on to the next step. Okay? If he really want to be with you, he is not going to force you to, sleep with him and get the cookie and then move on. So just take your time in that process. I can give you an example. I know of this individual who dated this guy, and she waited 3 months. They were in a relationship for 3 months. After 3 months, they didn't do anything. They got to know each other. They went out to dinner. They went hiking. They did a lot of things that couples did. She would give him a kiss on the cheek or a peck, now and then. They'll hug and all that good stuff. But they never slept together. Anyway, they decided to go on an excursion. I'll just say an excursion. And while they were on that excursion, she found out a lot of things about this individual and realized that they weren't compatible. For one, this individual, he didn't have good personal hygiene. And there was no way of knowing that unless, again, she spent the weekend or spent some time away from their environment. Actually, they went to another state. And she found out a lot of things about him. For example, she told me on the way to where they were going on their vacation spot, he was eating Cheetos, and he eat the Cheetos, and rather than, ask for a napkin or wipe his hand, he wiped the Cheetos across his chest. Now, that's a Neanderthal to me. And those Cheetos, they leave that orange stain on your hand. He just wiped it across his chest. Now that's something, well, I was going to say military, because I was in the military, so when you're in the military, you're in the field and you don't have anything, you may wipe it on your BDUs or, ACUs, wherever they call them now. But that's in the field, in the woods, but not in a car. You're driving on your vacation spot. You're scratching the sores on your calf, and then you're putting your hands in your Cheetos, and then you're wiping it across your chest. Ugh, that is so gross. And she witnessed that. And then she told me that he tried to touch her, and she was like, ugh. But, she didn't let him see her facial expression because she just found that gross. Now, again, had she just slept with him, didn't get to know him, and just give up the cookie, she would never notice about him until later on, and then she would be disgusted. Ugh, I can't believe I slept with that person. Ugh. But anyway, so they went to the Airbnb, and I guess they had a good time, she said. And the first night, they stayed at the Airbnb, I believe, for 3 days. The first night, he took a shower. Again, they never did anything. He took a shower, and then the 2 nights that they were there, the other 2 nights, he didn't take a shower. He would go into the bathroom, okay, and I guess pretend to take a shower, but he never took a shower. And she noticed that because I guess this individual is anal. I don't know, but she does checks and balances. So she went and checked behind him, found out that water never touched his body, and that was enough to gross her out. And she decided from that point on that that wasn't a relationship that she wanted to be in. But again, had she just slept with him that month or that first week, she would never know. So I guess what I'm saying is spend time with that individual, get to know them before you jump in bed with them. Okay? The next one on the list is have a plan. Have a plan. Have a plan. What is that? Have a plan. Oh, the next one is on the list is have a plan, because you want to know what his plans are. What are your plans for the future? How are you going to move forward? If he doesn't have a plan, that's a red flag there, because it's like, how are you going to get to the next level if you don't have a clear path? How are you going to move to the next level if you don't have a plan or a clear path defined in moving forward? So it's going to be difficult for you. It's going to be very difficult. So have a plan. Have a plan. And another challenge that I always hear, oh, you're so guarded. You're so guarded. Women say, men say that they're guarded, and that's one of the challenge. I think it's just women, professional women, just have to be careful that they're not taken or taken advantage of. So if you want to say guarded, then you say guarded. But I think most professional women have a good head on their shoulder. They know what they're looking for in a mate, and they're not going to just settle just because. So I just disclosed to you several challenges, and I hope that information was beneficial, and I hope you use that information to make informed decision. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for watching my video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And remember, in a world where you can be anything, be kind.